Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first Friday Mastermind of 22, guys. This is going to be such an exceptional year. Last year was amazing. I don't know about you if you're checking this out, but it feels like we've been running this 2-year marathon of record production, winning in bidding wars. And I don't think we're going to get a break, but I do think 22 represents a very different year. I do think lead conversion matters more than ever. And there's just some new things that we need to brush up on, we need to implement. So we've got an awesome call. As you guys can tell, we're in a pretty cool place. Check out the cameras. Where are we, guys? Where are we, Todd?
Well, I think it's perfect way to kick off the year. We're all actually standing together live, which is always a little bit awkward because normally you're looking together on Zoom, and now we got who are we gonna talk to? But we are up in Bellevue, Washington, at the W, this fancy suite with the RE Source crew, Ryan Hills and RC, and we're super excited. We're gonna be recording a podcast here in about an hour with us, Ryan, Dan Keller, and Denise Donahue. So we've got an all-star crew. We all flew in here, and I'm just super stoked. It's gonna be a great day of spending time with you guys and recording content.
You flew in from Dallas. Why did you and your twin sister, what's her name again?
Denise.
I'm kidding. The mortgage nerd. Yeah. Why'd you guys fly in?
Because we're going to spend time with you all and mastermind and collaborate and create content to add value to this beautiful group.
Yeah, so that's another theme, guys. This is the year to take your energy to a new level, take your vibe, take how you connect to a new level. So no better person than to have Jonathan Roche help kick things off. 26th time Boston Marathon finisher. How many Ironmans? 12 Ironmans?
Wow.
How many people do you know that have done double digit? Did I get the number right? Jonathan?
Yeah. There's a bunch of other crazy people that have done all sorts of endurance events. If people are smart, they don't start signing up for these longer events. They just do their 30 minutes. But yeah, it's all good. Well, I'm excited to connect with you guys. Yeah, no, it's a blessing. I think the key is what you do when the lights are off will create how you show up and what you do when the lights are on. And a lot of people give credit for high-level athlete or someone who's crushing it business-wise, but what you don't see is what they're doing when the lights are off, when people aren't paying attention. Are they getting their water? Are they limiting their alcohol consumption? Are they consuming positive content? Are they really staying in this state? Can you guys see me, by the way?
We see you perfectly.
Okay, cool. I lost you for a second. So I think the key is this idea of how we show up in life is a product of many habits and decisions that accumulate over time. And when we look at 2022, it's a changing market for the mortgage industry. I've been blessed to serve so many in the mortgage industry. It's absolutely beautiful. It's magnificent. It's been this crazy ride for 2 years. A lot of people kind of freaking out. Oh, the rates are changing, everything else. Well, what I would invite everyone, watching today, either live or on recording, to realize is you've never had your change muscles more dialed in tone and ready to go than right now. You just had a 2-year crash course in change, in evolving, in pivoting. So as we pivot and we change for 2020 based on what's happening with the market, remember the basics always work. The basics of water, sleep, positive content, nutrients, exercise patterns, who we surround ourselves with, they always work. And today, what I really want to talk about is what the team's going to not do in 2022 and how that's going to set all of you up to win.
Well, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Guys, this is Mastermind style. So we're the 3 moderators that are unmuted that are going to facilitate today's conversation with Jonathan. But guys, this is a community. So whether you're watching this live on Facebook, put your questions and comments down below. If you're watching this in Zoom live, put your questions in chat. And if you're watching this recorded in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, put your comments. I want to remind everybody that last week we published, not last week, a couple of days ago, we published the top 10 mortgage coach videos of 2021. Highly recommend that you go back and review those videos. If you're a new loan officer, you got to watch all 10 of them, like by the end of the month. And take notes. Remember, it's not just about watching content. It's how well did you consume the content, and then what actions did you take? What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing? So Jonathan, why don't you kick it off? I know we frame this around two, game-changing tools, and then we'll just ask questions along the way.
Can I throw one thing in real quick?
Yeah.
So real quick, 3 of those videos were new loan officer videos, which inspired me. Next Wednesday at noon Pacific, I'm going to be doing my top 3 ideas for loan officers to launch and grow in 2022. And I said it's for new loan officers, but it's really for all of you. Anyone who's not doing 10 plus loans a month, you should be there. I'm super excited for that content. Just go to winbynoon.com/calendar. And then the other website to visit is learn all about Jonathan, right? I call Jonathan coach these days. Go to peaklock-in.com. Jonathan's got lots of great things going on, and I think you need to be part of his community as well. Sorry, I cut you off, Deb.
That's okay. The only thing I was going to add on to what Dave said is, yes, take notes, but I really want this year for you all who are listening to these calls. These guys spend a lot of time getting great leaders and experts like Jonathan every week. I want you to show up and interact, participate. I love the private messages that you guys send me and certain questions that you ask me. However, the collaborative learning group that this Facebook group has and all of the brilliant minds, it helps when you guys comment and you interact in the group, not just for algorithms, but because we want to make sure that you guys are the best of the best. So interact, engage. You have Jonathan right now. Ask all the questions that you need to ask. You have him here, and that's with every call this year. So participate.
And it does help the algorithms, which means more people view the content and have access to it. So if you're getting value from this, just know that your engagement adds value to this. So with that said, Jonathan, why did you pick this headline, and what are the 2 game-changing tools?
Yeah, so before we go into the tools, I just want to mention real quick that, again, this idea of your energy and your vibe, and Todd probably, hopefully he'll laugh when I bring this up, but Deborah walked in when we were about to launch, and it was just a riot to see her kind of tiptoe across. And I bring that up because a lot of times we have this misperception that like video needs to be perfect, or our suit needs to be perfect, or you know what we deserve to be dialed in is our energy and our vibe. And if you show up, you can show up in your pink sweatsuit and look super strange. You're like, what's that lady's deal? But if you're locked in, you are locked in. And I bring that up because as we look at 2022, we probably should get a little bit more laid back on some of the specific details, and then make some decisions about how we want to show up. Do we want to be the most positive person in the room? Are we going to be the most positive person on the Zoom call? Can we nail the conversations with potential families that you are ideally going to be blessed to serve? Can you nail it where you're not talking about mortgages for 10, 15 minutes because you're vibing, catching up with their kids or seeing what's going on? And it's almost like this potential family is, of course they're there, or they're on the Zoom call to talk about mortgages. But the person that talks about mortgages, I believe, the person that talks about them first or too early loses. And that's an earned ability. Hi, Denise. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
We got the whole crew here. I feel like I'm missing out. I'm in Vermont in the cabin. When I was talking earlier, my screen went black. So if you noticed, if I look like I was doing weird stuff, it's like, is he multitasking right now? I was like trying to find the screen. But anyway, I'm super excited to be here. Before we get into the 2 key tools, I just want to mention something that may be more important than the 2 key tools, which is focus is rocket fuel. And we live in a distracted state right now where we're getting the text messages, we're getting the calls, and people are multitasking. If you want to differentiate yourself in a crowded marketplace, be the most focused person in the room. I feel so strongly. Up through a couple of years ago, people used to manage their time. And I think the A players actually shifted to start managing their energy, right? They want to manage their energy throughout the day. I feel like the A players and world-class athletes, people, moms, dads, friends, in 2022 and beyond, it's going to be about managing your focus. And so when I look at 2022 and the athletes and the executives I'm blessed to coach, most of you know I coach 4 of the top 30 originators in the US. When I guide them, it's one of the big things we're dialing in right now is focus. How do you stay focused? How do you stay engaged with that family where they're like, man, did you see the eye contact? When we were hanging out with Denise, it was like, there was nothing good. It was like, if the building fell down around her, she was going to be with us. That is earned through our habits. So I believe for 2022, for the mortgage coach community, for all of you, the winning is going to be probably more about what you stop doing than what you start doing. I don't know if any of you guys want to jump in on that.
I do, and I couldn't resist the opportunity that we had the mortgage nerd, Denise Donahue, in the room, so we had to bring you on stage. And one, I just want you to share how you closed the year, and then knowing that one of the themes of this call is like, what are you going to stop doing?
Mm-hmm.
I want to have you share what you're going to stop doing, and then we'll have Jonathan run with it. But how'd you do for the year?
We helped 722 families.
What?
Yeah. So really excited about that. The year before was 604 families. So even when refi business went down, we cranked it up. And a lot of to what you're speaking about, focus was our primary, topic of 2021, because I would tell real estate agents, I'd ask them, okay, it's so important for you guys to go to the closing table with your clients. That's kind of like putting the bow, you're there. It's an exciting moment for the client. But when I would show up at the closing table, what do you think the real estate agent was doing the whole time? And they're on their phone and they're probably emailing or they're texting, but I'm like, so wait, let me get this straight. You take the time to go to the closing table for your client because you think it's so important and it's such a meaningful moment, but the entire time you're on your phone, like what message does that send to the client? So 2021 for us was all about focus. We're going to continue to do that. And we're really going to dial in on just sharpening our tools with deeper relationships with our clients. I told Dave, I was watching 2 years ago, I'd watched Wally's presentation on just being better at that annual asset review, being more intentional. And we really dialed that in 2021, even if it had nothing to do with me making money. I posted a video on YouTube about how to remove your PMI without having to refinance. I had people in Pennsylvania, California, like states I'm not licensed in, and they're like, thank you so much. I saved $260 because I just made a phone call. And so I'm focused on the people. That's my focus, is on people and how to help them get out of some hardship that they experienced going through COVID. A lot of people racked up some debt, and just helping them be more strategic with the debt. And that's what I'm putting out on social more, and I'm really trying to go deeper in that.
If there was one thing that you're going to stop doing to further your focus, what would that one thing be?
Stop saying yes to things that distract me from my mission.
Boom. So I challenge everyone listening to this just to kick things off. What's one thing you're going to start saying no to that's different? Like if you want to have a better year, a different year, that means you have to do something different. So what is one thing that you're going to say no to? Write it down. And with that said, we've got 45 minutes of Jonathan Roche, and good to have you here, and thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
So Jonathan, kick us off, brother. Tell us the topic, and if there's anything you want to, put an exclamation mark that you just heard, feel free.
Yeah, I want to make sure I don't miss that alley-oop that Denise just threw all of us, which is she's focusing on people. In conjunction with focusing on people, what we want to do is respect them by giving them our full attention. That's what focus is about. When I do my coaching, and actually when I'm on the phone with anyone, my laptop is in my closet behind me. So there is no risk of I'm doing an email drive-by or any of that. There is none. When I am on a phone call with anyone, my phone's on do not disturb. There's no risk of me checking a text. I am 100% in. And as mortgage professionals, you can't do the laptop in the closet thing probably, but there are these little things that lead to elevating your focus, but also making sure your energy and your vibe are at the right level. Because when people end a workday, they're not like physically exhausted, like, oh my gosh, Dave, my legs are killing me, or, oh my, Todd, I'm so tired. we're mentally and emotionally tired because more than likely we haven't been laser focused. If we just stay laser focused, we don't crawl into our evening with our family who deserves our A game. We've paced it correctly. And so as Dave is mentioning, like, all right, what are we going to pull back on for 2022? And then as we do that, as we pull back on certain things, as we narrow in, we're able to elevate our focus. We're able to invest in people like Denise just brilliantly pointed out. And then we could more or less work almost the same playbook, which ideally includes mortgage coach, includes win by noon and how you over deliver to these families. But you can almost do that exact same brilliant playbook, but you're different. And then not surprisingly, even in the changing market, you're trouncing it. I promise we're going to get to the two things as soon as I give you guys. Does anyone want to add anything to that before we get to the two things?
No, I think that's perfect.
No, I think it's great. And I'll give a teaser on my webinar. I'll give out my script of how I got really comfortable saying no. I do think a lot of us in sales, if you guys are familiar with this, we're high eyes, right? We're people pleasers and we want to say yes. Like we never want to say no because we want to sell, right? We're salespeople. And that was really tough for me. And I got brave, I called it. I had created the ability, but it was really just one quick script that I was able to use to get super comfortable with saying no, and in a way where people like, oh, that's awesome, Todd. And so I'll share that when I do that on the webinar. So I'll give you a teaser. I won't give it out today.
One more thing I do want to say is we've done 2 years of the Modern Mortgage Summit. And the first year we did it in 2019, two of our biggest producers that were doing over 500 loans a year. And I asked them, like, you can talk about anything, it's got to be micro content. It's got to be less than 5 minutes. And it can be any topic that you're passionate about. Alex Varela, one of the number one, well, he's been the number one Latino loan officer in America, multiple years, over 500 loans. He wanted to do his micro presentation on no and the power of no. And so go back and check that out. Shayla Gifford, same thing. And it wasn't like I went out there and said, hey, I want you to do a presentation on no, on the power of no. I was just like, anything you want to talk about that you're passionate about, like that you want to tell your team. And these were two of the most successful people in the mortgage industry, and they wanted to do a presentation on why I say no, how to say no. So go back and check that out.
It's funny you mentioned that, and I'll have to find it then, because I did a video after the summit on their videos and how to say no. So now I got to go find it. So I'll have to scroll through Facebook and figure out where that one is, and I'll make sure I get that reposted for all of you.
And Jonathan, when you say, minimizing the distractions and putting your laptop in the closet, I know for me personally, just to be completely transparent, my mind is usually my biggest distraction. And so I could be, trying to listen to my kid who's telling me about their story in school for like the 8th time. And my mind's thinking of either all the things I need to do tomorrow, or did I write that down? Am I going to make sure that I do that follow-up? So I love, and maybe that's part of your 2 tools, is helping getting the mind right so that your mind, and for others like me, who that's the noisiest place, I'm good with setting off, making sure my phone's on do not disturb and, minimizing the notifications, but it's this part that can be my biggest challenge.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Deborah, both the tools I'm going to discuss right now will really serve you well. One of the quotes from Jim Rohn was, people spend the majority of their workday thinking about their home life, and they spend the majority of their home life thinking about their workday. And then they wonder why they're exhausted. Just what you're alluding to, Deborah, right? Where it's like the machine is running. And really these 2 tools, which is my coaching style, they're super simple. I like to say they're 3rd grade simple, but they flat out work when you act on them. So I'm just going to tell you the 2 tools, and I'm going to circle back to the first one. First tool is what I call bookending your day for success. Bookending your day for success, which is not, some of you hear that and you're like, people have covered that forever. Stay with me, because there's a uniqueness to how I coach on this, because there's actually 3 bookends. So there's the morning routine, which we want to write it down. So this idea of bookending your day for success, it's a 1-page document that you would ideally then, consistently take action on, but then also be able to coach your team on and be able to point to as far as how you operate and how you execute. So it has your morning routine, with specific durations of what you do and actual times, which is brutal, right? And then there's the nighttime routine. Again, none of this is like, wow, I've never heard any of this, but stay with me. Nighttime routine, durations, and specific times. Again, brutal. If you want to be an A player, you get up at the same time and you go to bed at the same time. Same thing, whether you're talking professional athlete, you're talking a CEO, any leader, any role in any organization, we want to have those times be pretty consistent if you want to elevate. That's a term I use with the athletes I coach and the executives. We want to elevate. So we have those two bookends. But the third bookend, which I believe is most important for mortgage professionals, is your end of workday routine. Most people don't have one. And I don't mean that as a jab. I'm coaching you right now. We need an end of workday routine that's consistent and repeatable. It can't be 30 minutes because it's not going to happen, right? I'm blessed. I have 6 and 12 and 14-year-olds. My 6-year-old, I want to go see them. I want to go connect with my amazing wife and my kids. So, but we want it. So the shorter, the better, but we have to have some type of routine. And if you look at 21 and even 20, a lot of people would go from like, they're on a call with a family where they're cranking an email. And then like 45 seconds later, as Deborah was alluding to, your son or daughter is showing you the painting from art class. Check it out, Mom. And you're trying to like vibe. But meanwhile, you just left your business hat like less than a minute ago. So we want to have an end of workday routine that is repeatable, that sets you up to make that mental shift from, okay, rock star business person out, rock star mom, rock star dad, partner, whoever you vibe with at home, it's time for that. Dave and Deborah and Todd, you guys want to jump in on any of that, particularly the end of workday routine?
I was going to say, I think that's probably even more challenging now that so many people are working remote. They've brought work into the home, that switching it off, that would make the routine that much more important to have the bookends.
Well, and I would say from a coaching perspective, the most important part about it is what you said at first. It's got to be a written routine. So, as since you're my coach, you said, hey, Todd, you have it. And I actually had a written morning routine. I had a written evening routine. Dave just pointed out the fourth bookend, which is my by noon routine, right? What I do to win by noon has always been really huge to me. So Dave reminded me of that. And technically I do have that written as well. And I have had a thought out practice and what I did to unplug, but you making me write it down made me think about it deeper and made me get more specific around it because specificity matters. And so it was a lot of fun, for me. And I talk a lot this year about standards. And so my document, I relabeled it Standards for Success, and just super stoked to have you push me to do it because it's going to make me a better husband, a better parent, and better human.
Dude, Standards for Success.
Love that. Standards
awesome.
for Success. So yeah, my thought was just hearing you say that, everything you said, Jonathan. And I really do think adding that win by noon, there's just nothing more important than getting all your most important things done by noon. When I've interviewed thousands of the most successful loan officers in America, and they have a few things in common. One, they're consistent. They have success habits that they're consistent with, and one of those is prospecting daily. And I actually cannot think of a single one where, I do all my prospecting at 3 p.m. I haven't heard that before. Usually it's between 9 and 10 in the time zone that they're at, and they've won by noon. And so I would urge every mortgage professional to audit your win by noon habits. Are you getting whatever those 3 most important things and that hardest thing done, or are you getting it done by noon? And adding that as a book. And I know I made it personal note, and I haven't been doing that. I mean, I do win by noon, but I don't do a win by noon bookend. I'm going to add that to my habits. So anyways, Jonathan, I know you got a lot to cover. You got 35 minutes left to roll, but let's rock.
Yeah, awesome. I'll just say real quick on the bookending that it's really important that you write it down. Our negative voice goes, no, we're good. I do that. But it's like, we want to write it down. And part of it, so like I mentioned, my kids are 6, 12, and 14. But my 14-year-old's just about to get into that phase of his growth, right? Where it's like he needs tools, he needs strategies. So for any of you that are parents, or even if you're not parents, we want to have this, it's not necessarily part of our legacy, but like if my 14-year-old said like, man, Dad, you're like locked in on your habits, I could like hand him this. Well, here's part of how I do this. The point of bookends, by the way, just like an actual book, for an actual bookend, is to keep things in a structured way, to keep them in line. And you could say, what does that mean? Just what I said, to keep us in line on our habits, on our thought processes, on our energy allocation. We want to be systematized. And when we systematize and we write it, we can then repeat it. And no different than the professional athletes that I'm blessed to coach. Everything's systematized. They know what they're going to eat. They know about their sleep patterns, their water, their consumption, who they're going to receive a text from pre-game. All of that is systematized. No different than you guys do as mortgage professionals. You don't meet in the conference room like, hey, Todd, Dave, and Deborah, let's meet in the conference room. So what do you think, guys? What are we going to do today? That's not what you do. Everything is systematized and set up so that we can repeat wowing our clients as a mortgage professional. No different personally. And I'll just mention real quick, the bookending, the end of workday routine needs to be something that elevates you. It's not just a mental distraction to separate work from home. It's something to get your juices flowing. I have two videos I watch. One's 5 minutes, one's 6 minutes. I watch those that elevate me big time. Then I can go and make sure my family gets my A game. Because in a chaotic market, a lot of mortgage professionals, and excuse my candor here, but I'm coaching you guys, they've stuck their family with their B game because they're giving the A game out all day. But you're better than that. If we pace correctly, we get our habits right, we use our end of workday routine, we can make sure that we go, we hang out, and we use this example of my 6-year-old bringing her art picture. I can be like, that is unbelievable. You didn't do that. Oh, I did, Daddy. And we can be that version of ourselves. Todd, you guys need to jump for your filming, by the way. I noticed the rest of the crew is out.
No, we're good. We're good. I just got really excited because you talked about systemizing, right? You talk a lot about managing your energy and your focus. And the whole point of systemizing, the whole point of having a schedule, like what I call the ideal week, is because when you've already thought it out, when you've written it out and you've created a system, it's less to think about and it's going to burn less energy, right? It's the whole reason that Steve Jobs wore that black turtleneck all the time. He didn't want to have to make the decision about what to wear every day. Like my kids at school, in high school, they had uniforms, and at first they hated it, but then they realized when they went to college and had to think about what they were going to wear to class every day, what a gift it was to wake up and not have to think about what they wore in high school. And I just think you need a system for yourself, and I call it your operating system. So what's your operating system going to be so that you can manage your energy better? I mean, that's one of the things I think, Jonathan, that you've really pushed me to do, is be focused on my energy. And because of the fact that I have to make less decisions in a day than most people, because I've already thought about it, then it brings me more energy and brings my A game to whatever it is I'm showing up to.
Absolutely, Todd. So for the team, what he's alluding to, you've probably heard this term, it's called decision fatigue, right? Particularly later in the day, we get to decision fatigue. That's a concept covered. There's a world-class book called Essentialism that I believe is one of the best books ever written on what are you really to do, what is truly essential. And within that, they talk about decision fatigue, which is what Todd was talking about, right? Where it's like, we don't want to think about it. And if we don't have to think about it, then it's easy just to repeat it. And then we have that bandwidth, that mental bandwidth left to focus or to pour into something else. Again, when you look at 2022, what you're going to do differently versus 21, one of the things ideally is you're going to pace correctly or pace better through focusing and through doing things like systematizing these habits, again, removing the need to even think about them. So Todd, you want to add anything to that before we go into the second tool?
No, I just love it because Lisa said on Facebook, audit your wins by 12 noon. And I think, again, it's, going back to what Dave said a minute ago, he said he's never talked to a top producer who says I prospect at 3 o'clock. And I would tell you, I actually talked to mainly real estate agents who say, well, the best time to reach leads is between 4 and 6. And it's half true. It's actually between 8 and 10 and between 4 and 6 every day. And when I ask them, well, awesome, how consistent are you with that? They all drop their eyes. They don't want to make eye contact because they're not consistent. They were so busy running around and responding to things and reacting that they don't do it every day. However, I challenge them because they can all control the morning. And I say, worst case is you leave a voicemail for someone and they call you back, and then that's the reacting time. And, for them to all report back to me that that's a game changer to make sure that they check it off their list every day by doing it in the morning. And then great, I tell them if you got the extra time in the afternoon, do it. Great. You're doubling down. But then they all say, yeah, that's just doesn't happen often enough. So I think you're nailing it, Jonathan. So anything you want to add, Dave, before I hand it back over?
No, I've seen some comments, and I don't know if you guys have.
We read this one.
Okay, so you read that one.
Robert asked about the book. That was Essentialism, Robert. It's great. Funny, just pulled it out of my closet to read it again this year.
Did we do Stevens?
I didn't.
So Stephen had asked everyone, could you explain an example of the videos you watch for your end of day routine? Jonathan, anything you want to share on that?
Yeah, so the second tool I'm going to describe, I'm going to put a link to that, and I'll put a link to the 2 videos. I actually, along the same lines of the videos, I posted 2 videos. I think it was either January 1st or January 2nd on the Mortgage Coach Facebook page. The second video I posted was this, it's probably 10 of the top athletes in the world talking about doing the work even when they don't want to. It's just 5 minutes. Maybe that's not your end of workday video, but you want something that stirs the pot to really elevate you. So the couple videos, one is called Dream. The second one is called Unbroken. And again, I'll link to those. I'm not good at multitasking, talking about staying focused, but I'll link to those when you guys post the video on the Mortgage Coach Facebook page, the recording. I'll make sure to link to those couple videos. We need that lift. That's another thing. We give energized, positive people too much credit. Like they came out of their moms like that. Maybe like 1 out of 1,000 did, but the other 999 of us, we get to that vibe through tools, through strategies, through videos, through lift. So like this morning, while I was doing my workout here, blessed overlooking the lake, I was cranking these motivation videos. I couldn't help but set myself up for success by doing that along with exercise. Get endorphins, dopamine, energy that all flow from sweating. Combine that with the mental lift of these videos. It's a game changer. A lot of times at the end of the day, if you've been, spending all day pouring into your teammates, pouring into your leadership, pouring into your current families that you're blessed to serve, your real estate professional partners, everything else, the bucket's getting kind of empty as we finish the day. So you need someone to kind of be like, all right, here we go. It's game time. The key is to figure out what works for you. Some people like the really bluntness. There's a lot of videos on YouTube of people I don't like the people that seem like they're like yelling at you. That's just not my deal. But some people like that. So you got to figure out what works for you, but less is more. The idea of I'm going to spend 30 minutes and I'm going to go out to my wife and kids. I don't mean that you can't do that, but I, as your coach, at least right now, I'm coaching you guys. I would say in the 5 to 10 minute, maybe 15 at the most, you just want to lock in, get in the right state. Now, the second tool that we're going to go through is a life-altering tool, which is a ridiculous statement unless you know it to be true. And I have every one of my coaching clients, athletes, executives, rock star moms, doesn't matter what playing field you're on, they create this tool because it's transformative. Now, the tool, I call it your declaration of peak lock-in. Super nerdy. You can change the name, just like Todd did for the book ending your day, right? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the top of the thing says. What's in it? In this document is a 1 to 2 page document that declares, most importantly to yourself, but also to the universe, the world, how you want to show up. What do you represent? What are you going to do? What are you going to focus on? What are you going to say no to? And so for me, I have my declaration right here that I'm going to, again, I'll link to it when Robert puts out the link for the recorded on the Facebook page. I'll link to mine. The point, again, of the declaration, though, is that you're going to read this as part of your morning routine, as part of your end of workday routine, and as part of your nighttime routine, and possibly as far as part of your win by noon routine. So I read mine 3 times a day. Takes me anywhere from 7 to 8 minutes to read it. I'm not just trying to crank through it. Mine's 2 pages. But really what this is, it captures what you want to do, what you want to represent. Now, some people be like, oh, that's cheesy. I'm not doing that. If you want to elevate, you want to be a better version of yourself, create a declaration. And this is the type of document that should stir the pot. Now, again, I'm going to link to mine. I'm going to walk you through what the different components of it are. There's no right way to do it, whatever works for you. So I do believe very strongly that the top of it should be your why. Like, really, why do you want to trounce life? Really, why do you want to elevate? Really, why do you want to make 2022 not one of the best years of your life, but the best year of your life? Why? So for me, it's super simple. I have my picture of my amazing wife and my 3 kids. I also, at the top of mine, and you guys will see this, have a letter from my late mom and a letter from my late dad. Some people say, that's kind of weird. Doesn't that bum you out? No, it's guidance. It's their wisdom, and it's signed with their name, and it empowers me. So that's the first thing I do. I look at my wife and my kids. I read these 2 notes from my mom and dad, right? And then the next section is my top 3 priorities. If you take nothing out of our time today, identify your top 3 priorities, both personally and professionally, because those should be the filter for what you say yes or no to. That's how I operate my life. So something is either in alignment with my top business priorities on the business side of my life, or I'm not doing it. Or it's on the personal side, it's either in alignment or I'm not doing it. Dave or Todd, you want to jump in on this particular part of the declaration? You guys are still
Yeah, it's funny. It's to me, it's kind of a mini version of my life plan, right? And so, I've always focused. A lot of you know, because I just taught a life planning class last month, and I've got this big, long 12-page life plan, and I've always had in my mind that I would do this 1-page version of it, that I kind of my mini version of it, and I've kind of always failed. And so, I think it's a great reframe to think about what's most important to you and just put it in 1 to 2 pages.
Yeah, well, but are you saying this is a 1 to 2 page, or is it even shorter than that, Jonathan? How long should this be?
Ideally, I believe 2 or less pages. Mine for a long time was 1 page, and then I moved it to 2. But it could be a third of a page if it really stirs the pot. What you're trying to do again, though, is have this tool that elevates you first thing in the morning, elevates you as you shift from your workday to your family time, and then elevates you as you finish off a day.
Love it. Well, I am going to work on mine right now. Mine is longer than that. And I love the idea of consolidating it. And for me, because I'm ADD, if I'm actually going to do it consistently, I'm going to need to make it a page to a half a page. So that will be a personal note to self and challenge. I did notice that someone had asked for a link to the top 10 mortgage coach videos of 2021. In just a minute, I'm going to be posting that in both channels. Also, guys, one of my goals this year, just to be transparent with everyone, is to get our subscribers on our YouTube channel up to 20,000. We're a little north of 15,000, so I'm very proud of that. We're providing a tremendous amount of influence, a tremendous amount of leadership and value to the mortgage industry, but the goal is 20,000 this year. So I would really appreciate your help if you believe in our channel and if you believe in this content. Please share it with your mortgage friends. If you're a manager, reshare it with all the loan officers that you serve as a leader, and remind people to subscribe. The benefits of subscribing to our channel is that you'll get an alert every time a video is posted. You'll get an alert that, hey, there's a new video, check it out. So I'll put a link in all channels in just a second. So I'm loving this conversation, Jonathan.
Awesome. And Dave, I'm pumped that you're gassing it on the declaration. And for the team, I would invite all of you to schedule a time to create your declaration. Because otherwise, if you just try to kind of wing it and plug it in, it's not probably going to work. And then the other suggestion is, if you're not in an optimized state when that time comes up on your calendar, then don't do it. It's kind of like goal setting, right? If you have like your B game, you don't want to sit there and map out what you're going to do in 2022. We got to make sure we get a workout, some nutrients, get your favorite tea or coffee or whatever your deal is, and then grab your laptop or your pen and then map this thing out. And remember, it's a living document. A lot of people think they get stuck in perfectionism, or you'll see mine and go, oh my gosh, this guy wants to go conquer the world. Well, you don't want to go to a dentist with rotten teeth. So if I'm the peak performance coach and I'm guiding you guys, my document better be pretty powerful, right? Like I practice what I preach. I'm not theorizing that this works. My clients are trouncing it because they do things like they create their bookend for success document. They write their declaration. And then again, this is a living document. As you transform, what you need will transform. I know that's not like, wow, deep thoughts from Einstein, but think about it. We transform. So some things you'll end up ditching. And then other things you'll see, like Dave posts some quote and you're like, that's unbelievable. I'm putting that in my declaration. That's how you should be thinking about this. But the key is to get it started. A lot of people think, again, that it should be perfect. It doesn't matter. It's a living document. So we just want to create it. And I would invite you, as I've done with my clients, since I'm going to share mine, if you want, take mine, obviously ditch picture my family, ditch the notes from my parents, and then start working through. And if you like it, leave it. If you don't, delete it. And then you go, okay, even if you just had a third of a page, which is the stuff I created, that's a start. There's no like declaration police that walk around. They go, Dave, yours doesn't look good. Okay, Todd, yours is okay. It doesn't matter. Who cares? The only version is the version that gets you fired up to go trounce your day, or to go bring your family your A game when you're ending the day, or when you are going to bed at night. So that's how we want to think about this. Dave or Todd, you want to add anything to that as I go through the sections?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add and then have you go through the section is, what's going to be different about this year for you guys. And I know one of the things I'm going to do different in 2022. I did not achieve my health goal for last year in terms of the amount of weight I wanted to lose. I did keep a really good energy. So I achieved most of my business goals, outperformed most of my business goals, achieved some 10 and 20-year goals, but I did not achieve my health goal. And if I want to have level 5 goal, something needed to be different. And so one of the things I personally did is I signed up to be coached by Jonathan to be my accountability partner. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did a couple days ago. And it was funny, guys. I told Jonathan, I don't know what it was. I think it was like Christmas Eve, or like it was in the beginning of the year. And I told Jonathan I was going to sign up and coach with him. And I really had an intention to do it before the first. And it was funny. I had this whole conversation with myself where I was like putting it off. Like, and in all honesty, guys, I was scared, like, holy shit, I'm going to have Jonathan, I have to be accountable. And I had at least 3-4 days. And I had some good excuses. Like I had some reasons that I was putting off that commitment, and they were logical. They were reasonable. It made sense. But at the end of the day, I was putting off something that I knew was important. So I would just push everybody. If there's goals that you haven't hit last year, the year before, things that are important to you, what are you going to do different? What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing? And I do think, getting a coach, having accountability is really important. And clearly I'm a fan of Jonathan's. I've hired him as my level 5 energy coach. So that's a thought.
Well, I think the key is, first off, nice job, right, to pull the trigger on that. And I think, accountability matters. It's something that none of us want, but we all need. But I think the biggest thing, though, that you do, Dave, that I think everyone else needs to make sure that they've done, if you haven't reviewed your last year to see how you did, how are you going to figure out where you need to do things differently and grow in this year? And so I would encourage you, we're already a week in the year. It doesn't mean you can't do it, right? I hear all the time people like, oh, I missed start my New Year's resolution. Who cares? You can start any time. And so I would just encourage you, if you haven't scheduled the time, made the time to look at your last year and review it, and then set your goals for this year, unplug this weekend, right? Give yourself, a couple hours, get up a little bit earlier while the family's asleep, get your favorite, pajamas on and sit out there with a cup of coffee, and then review last year, set the goals for this year, because you got to be intentional if you're going to make it happen. So I'm excited, Jonathan, for you to walk us through the sections in your plan, because I think this will be one of the things that'll help you get there this year.
Yeah, awesome. So I just want to say real quick with Dave, with the coaching, we do need accountability, but even more important than that is this idea of what are we going to do differently? And a lot of times we give our power away, right? Like someone's going to go ask us, or, I got to get the coach is going to ask me, and I'm not trying to downplay coaching or someone asking you, but you're the resident genius on you. What are you going to do differently? And it's probably not 10 things. It's what are 3 things you're going to either stop doing or decrease doing? And what are 3 things that you're going to start doing or do more of? And people go, that's it? That's all you have? Simplicity wins. That's all we should be looking at. But if we don't do anything different, we're going to sign up for the same results. And that's the oldest story. We've all heard that, right? It's like the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I'm going to throw something into the thought process right now. It's blunt. I'll just warn you, which is a lot of people are afraid to fully commit because they then lose their excuse for why it didn't work. I know it's brutal, but it's like, yeah, I never did the thing. I never went to the gym, or I didn't do the whatever. I didn't make my calls. I knew I needed to do 10 outbound calls a day. I didn't really do it. So it's almost like you built in that excuse. A players just step into their greatness. They trust the process. They lean on the tools and strategies. They decide, you know what? I'm sick of this script around like I didn't lose the weight this year. I didn't hit the goals that we had wanted to achieve business-wise. At some point, we just got to say, you know what? I've got to test this thing out and find out if it really works. And then what happens like 99% of the time is it works. You're like, oh my gosh, I actually dropped the weight. Or, wow, I can't believe it. Those 10 outbound calls every day, they actually lead to the results that I desire. And we want to ditch this idea that our negative voice needs to have this built-in excuse for why we didn't execute. That's like your old story. I'm pushing you guys today as we start a year. Don't do that. You're better than that. You deserve better than that. Your family deserves better than that. Your clients, your team, everyone else. At some point, we just need to decide that it's game time and that we're going to elevate. So I want you to really think about that. And Todd threw a gem. Well, I'm watching the time, but I'll just mention, here's a simple way to look at 2021. And I would invite all of you to do this. Do a race report. This is what I do with all my professional college athletes. We do race reports. So if it's an NFL guy, PGA guy after a tournament, we do a race report. It's super simple. It's just 3 things. What went well? What didn't go well? And then the third section, which is the most important, what were the takeaways and key lessons? World-class people will actually write this out. We'll pull up Word and actually write it. What went well? What didn't go well? What were the key takeaways and lessons? And we want to mine the gold from 21, as Todd was alluding to, so that we don't replicate some of those missteps. And if it's not documented, a lot of times we give ourselves too much credit. So this happens with my golfing clients, right? Like it's super fresh. You just played in the tournament last week. Oh, I forgot, like on 15, that water hole, I shouldn't probably hit a driver off. But if you start documenting, then the next year when it comes around, you can go back and be like, oh yeah, that hole on 15, I got to remember that. Or these little lessons, that's a specific one for a golfer, but little lessons that then can be avoided moving forward. You want to take what you learned, the best stuff from 21, and document it. And then that way, when you look at 22 and you're mapping out your goals, or you're looking at how you're going to stay on top of your goals and achieve them, you can make sure that, again, you're not replicating any missteps and that you're leaning in on things that you learn. Todd, you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, I think that's just great. I love that you call it a race report. And I love the fact that, so oftentimes we think we're going to remember, how a realtor meeting went and the questions that we asked, or, our client conversation. And, really when you take the time to look at it in the moment, after the moment, while it's still fresh is always really great. We got a question from Kirk over on Facebook. How would you coach someone to create their daily sheet when the most important item would be on top of the daily list is, let's call it, broken? For instance, say the most important thing is family, yet divorce, new marriage, has children in both households, and the relationship with children, the first marriage, and you want more. So that's a big one. I don't know if you can tackle that one here on this or not, and still get your stuff covered, but I did want to throw it out there.
Was it Kirk? Is that what you said?
Yep.
I apologize. I'm not good at multitasking, so I'm not like in chat. You're like,
Kirk.
It was Kirk, correct? Yeah. So first off, Kirk, thank you for courageously speaking your truth. A lot of people are so busy being rah-rah, like I'm this, I'm that. But some people like you just courageous to be like, I'm a question, I'm just gonna tell it like it is. My advice on the situation you just described, and again, you'll see this in my declaration, which is, what are our top priorities? And a lot of times we don't realize, or people don't realize, that we need to be the top priority. It sounds super selfish. Like, oh, it's all about you. No, I don't mean it's all about me or Kirk or Todd or whatever, like ego wise. I mean, we want to gift our family our A game, regardless of the complexities of your family situation that you just described. So the way to do that is to state to the universe, and most importantly to yourself, that you are the top priority. So I can tell you my top priority on my list. And I'm not like, I'm explaining this to you, Kirk, and team right now, because I would strongly advise you to potentially just use mine as your top priority. Here's mine: to be the absolute best version of myself, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, humanly possible. That's it. That's literally my top priority. Which again, you can be like, what about your wife? What about your kids? Well, if I want to stick with my B game, then maybe I'll make that like my fourth one or my fifth one. That's my top one, right? My second top priority personally is to serve and guide my wife and Adeline and Benjamin and Alexander in being the absolute best versions of themselves, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, humanly possible. That's it. That's my second personal priority. And then my business priority, the second one, is to serve and support my team in being the absolute best versions of themselves, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, humanly possible. I know, again, third grade simple. This is how I approach coaching, but it's also how I approach my own life, simplicity. So I'm the top priority, so I can gift my A game to everyone else. And then my family on the personal side is my second priority. On the business side, my team. And then my third priority is to positively impact as many people as humanly possible. It's the same one, personally and professionally. And you could say, that sounds too simple. Well, I'm having a blast. I feel awesome, crushing it personally and professionally, but I do the work, including creating my declaration. Todd, you want to add anything to that?
Well, no, I think it's a funny one, because when I first heard life planning, same thing. People put themselves first, but if you're not your best, you can't show up your best for everybody else. And then again, I think this is where the specificity, Jonathan, that you're talking about in all these documents is really critical, because if you know what those steps are, then you can, fight through it, because it's, nothing's perfect, right? It's how can I make it the best I can make it and be intentional about it. That's my thought on it.
So Jonathan,
Absolutely.
We are in the closing 7 minutes. I want to make sure everything you wanted to share with everyone gets out. I also want to make sure that anyone that wants to hire you as a coach or follow you on social media knows how to do that. So why don't we start with that? Like, if someone wanted to hire you as a coach or follow you on social media, where would they do that?
Yeah, so on the coaching or speaking or our events in Vermont, where I am right now, you go to peaklockin.com. So peaklockin, just like it sounds.com. And then on social media, you just link up with me directly. So Jonathan Roche on Facebook, that's the best way. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. And I'll just mention on the declaration, I'll mention a couple of the sections as we finish up. So
Hey,
I had my top three priorities.
Real quick, wait, John. Before
Someone
we
came back for a reason. We talked about
before
this
we do
last
that,
night.
we didn't hear Instagram. What do
Yeah,
we think of that?
so top performers, Jonathan, I made a Instagram story and I was tagging Win by Noon, Todd, Dave, and I was like, weird, I'm typing in Jonathan. Why isn't he popping up? And I realized Jonathan is a little secret on Instagram, which you're too great to be a secret. So your challenge and homework from Coach Deb is to get your Instagram account up. Deal?
Potential deal. I made
Wait
it.
a minute. Okay, guys. Okay, wait.
We're being world class.
So we're not gonna. We know that when you commit to something, you lock in and you commit. So we're not going to push you to commit today, but some of the best athletes in the world are on Instagram. Most of the best coaches that want to impact the world are on Instagram.
Hey,
So
don't take that deal until Deb agrees to drink a gallon of water a day.
yeah,
Oh, Lord.
yeah. So we do think you should be on Instagram. Everyone who's in this community, if you also think Jonathan should have an Instagram account, let Jonathan know. Message him, put it in comments.
And you can hook up Facebook too, so they talk to each other, so you don't have to actually double
Yeah.
post.
Oh, here we go. It's starting. People are like, do it,
Jonathan
Jonathan.
is using the power of no.
Yeah,
But I
well,
will say, human
I am, because Dave, I'm going to jump in right now. Dave was pressuring me about this at the Positive Impact Summit here in September. Remember that? Anyway, all right,
I know.
I'll look at it. I am.
Well,
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, he's got 4
All right,
minutes.
so
no, and by the way,
Declaration.
you can go over. You can go over. So let's get the content out. If
Yeah.
it goes a few minutes over, let's go.
Yeah, cool. So next section, I wrote 12 rules to live and thrive. Yours might be 3. It might be 10. 12's a lot. I'll just say that. Maybe yours is sub 10. But these are rules that position you to thrive in life. I'll just read you my first and my 12. First one, nail my voice choice. If you joined us at all in 21 on any of the podcasts that Dave and Todd gave me the blessing of being part of, I always talk about nailing your voice choice. That's the number one thing. We got to choose our positive voice at the podium. Our negative voice likes to whine and focus on what's wrong. Positive voice likes to focus on what's right. Remember, actions are only the third step in peak performance lock-in. This is where people are stumbling right now in January. They're going right to action. I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to invest in the Peloton. I'm going to do whatever. That's all great. But if you don't nail your voice choice first, that voice choice leads to our thought patterns. Our thoughts then dictate our actions. This is why they tried Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig, and then the trainer, and then the curves, and then the Fitbit, and then the heart rate monitor, and then Peloton. Not trying to bash those tools, but a lot of those are action specific. We got to get our heads in the right spot. That's why number 1 on my list is that voice choice. Number 12, this is just an example. This stirs my pot. Maybe it doesn't for you. Out-care, out-serve, out-give, out-prepare, out-coach, and out-lead everyone else. That's a statement. So when I'm reading that at 5:45 in the morning at my kitchen table, it's game time. So the next section are my insanely big goals. These are life goals. You can also put your 22 goals. I list mine. I'm not going to go into them. They are insanely big. But again, they're my goals and they're achievable. They are insane, but they are achievable. The next section I have is the 8 steps of peak performance lock-in. I just went through 3 of them. Voice choice, then leads to your thoughts, then leads to your actions. And then you'll see this because I'm going to post on the Facebook page. Your actions lead to your results. Your results lead to your self-worth. Your self-worth leads to your self-belief. Your self-belief then leads to your leadership. And then your leadership leads to your positive impact. But they're like dominoes. You can't skip them. That's why we want to get the voice choice and get those right. They're right on that. I want to read them 3 times a day. Then I have all my favorite quotes from I've ever collected in my life. The first one is, to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. That's a Steve Prefontaine quote. Insanely powerful. Then I go through to my personal mantras. If you have one, list it. If not, it's all good, or maybe come up with one. And then the 5 inner beliefs that make me unstoppable. Again, I'm declaring who do I want to be? How do I want to operate? How do I want to serve as a husband, as a dad, as a leader, as a coach? How am I going to go get after this thing? And I read those. Then at the end, the essence of a new day, which is this whole idea of this is the beginning of a new day. We only have today. And not surprisingly, when I read this thing, I can go run through a wall. I feel like I'm at the starting line of the Boston Marathon, ready to get after it again, just through this 2-page document that I consume that, again, takes me 7 to 8 minutes to really do it right and absorb it. I read it in the morning. I read it as part of my end of day routine. And I read it as part of my nighttime routine. So Dave or Todd or Deborah, you guys want to jump in on any of that?
No, I mean, I think you just nailed it. I mean, I think the bottom line is what my big takeaway still is that you've got a process and a system for how you lay it out. And then everyone just needs to decide how they want to fill it in. And, I love the fact that you're going to share yours because it helps people have a little bit of guidance of where to start. And just don't overthink it. It's a working, living document. And it's one of those things that you're going to revisit since you're looking at it so often that you've got the ability to change it. So most people think it's got to be perfect and it doesn't. It just has to be started, right, Jonathan?
Where?
Yeah, and I'll mention one more thing. I'll share it on the Facebook page and on the YouTube channel. I'll put it up, a link to it on both of those.
Okay, so stay tuned, guys. I'll try to also get it in the files section. So Jonathan, any closing thoughts before we wrap up today?
Real quickly, the declaration is part of your legacy. And some people go, what does that mean? It means exactly what I said. It's part of your legacy. Like, you want your children, when they become adults, when they start sitting you down and they go, Dad, we've had a blessed journey. How have you been able to do this? And you go, well, here, let me give you some tools. Here's my book, Ending Your Day for Success. Here's my declaration that I read 3 times a day. And if you do it right, this is a tool that then your son or daughter or sister or mom would then be like, I want to build one of those. And the vision would be then someday your grandkids or your great grandkids go, yeah, do you see that there's this document from great grandpa that he wrote back during the pandemic thing we just learned about in school. That's why we have this crazy property in Vermont, because he's a nut job. You should read what the guy used to read 3 times a day. This is how we get his mind right to go get after it. It's a legacy. It's part of your legacy. If you want to lead people, team members, most importantly, your home team, equip them with the specific tools and strategies by showing them. That's what leaders do. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're in the business, that's your playing field, rock star mom, whatever it is. We want to do and show, not tell. And so I'm going to push you guys. Don't let this get away from you. This is a game-changing document that I believe, even though it's a ridiculous statement, but I believe it, can alter the trajectory of you and your family's lives by doing just these 2 tools we talked about today. But they're not going to happen if they're still in your head. We want to take action, we want to create them, and then use them to go get after it, to go trounce it, and to close your potential gap between where you are right now and who you have the potential to be. You want to have a blast in life, get in the gap. And part of being in the gap is it's about action, not talking.
I just wrote down, do and share, not tell. So guys, be a leader by example, share, inspire people to do better, but don't tell, don't lecture, don't preach. Deb, any closing thoughts?
That goes directly with where social's headed. And when you're showing up on social media, again, it's not telling, it's simply showing and doing and having stories of the solutions that you solve for families so that more people know how to connect with you and they see that you're a real human being that has a real life. And hopefully your feed over time will help demonstrate the legacy that you built that will continue to exist beyond, when you do. So
Todd, Mr. Win by Noon.
And you know where I'm going. Jonathan just said it, take action. You just invested an hour, right? Whether you invested it here live or whether you're watching this on the recording, you invested time, valuable time, and now you got to take action to make it happen, because Jonathan said it, this can be your legacy. These 2 tools will make a huge difference in your life, but you have to make it a priority. You have to make it happen.
So guys, we appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in to the Mortgage Coach community. Please, if you like and get value from this community, share it with folks. The 2 best ways to follow is follow us on Facebook, our Facebook group, Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please reach out to Jonathan. He's a huge value, huge resource. Follow him on social media. And this is a wrap. Happy 22 to everybody, and let's crush it. This Tuesday, I'm interviewing Wally Elderberry, monster producer. We're going to talk about scaling your database. It's going to talk about how he went from a database of 2,000 past customers to 11,000 customers under management, and how he is scaling his database and scaling his business. See you Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everybody. This is a wrap.
Y'all.